So, you're thinking about getting a Honda s2000 as a daily. What are your options? And the bigger question is, can you daily a bagged Honda s2000? What's up YouTube? My name's alamarru. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be jumping into the topic of daily driving a bagged Honda s2000. I've had this car since September of 2020. For about 6 to 8 months, the car was kept completely bone stock. And the first thing, other than a muffler delete, I decided to do in the car was suspension. This time around, if you've been with my channel for a little bit, you would know I used to drive a Honda Civic Coupe, 2014 model. That car was on coils. It wasn't slammed or anything, but it was definitely a little bit lower. Enough to the point where I would definitely have to adjust myself when it comes to driving around. When it came to choosing what suspension I wanted to go with, I felt like air suspension was better for my position because this was gonna be my daily. Overall, the main reason I decided to go with bags is just because I wanted to keep this car basically 100% reliable. I feel like this car specifically looks best when it's slammed to the floor. But at the same time, I didn't want to ruin anything such as like the front lip, the front bumper, the undercarriage, and all that type of stuff. That ultimately led me to choosing to go with air suspension. So around the first week of May 2021, which is basically a year ago, I ordered this kit from bagriders.com, not sponsored or anything. Specifically, I ran with the Airlift Performance 3-piece setup, so I did get the option for adjustable dampening, and I also got a physical remote. The 3H setup, I saw quite a few reviews on that. The height sensors would bug out sometimes, so I just felt like the extra few $100s on that alone wasn't really worth it. But the adjustable dampening was definitely something I was more looking forward to. Whereas with the 3S, the Slam kit, you don't have that type of stuff on there. The kit came with a 5-gallon tank. Along with it, I got two 444C compressors by air, if that really matters. Just because I wanted to be able to fill up the tank and air up and down the car a lot faster than I would with a single or a slower compressor. I didn't go like super maxed out, but I definitely went a little bit overkill with what I could have ran with this car. Along with that, I also ran 3/8" lines. I wanted to air up and down the car faster than normal, just because, like I said, I just wanted to keep it reliable. Whereas for someone who's more of a show car type of person, you know, being able to see the car air up and down slower is a lot more beneficial. But for me, it was just a point of keeping the car reliable, having the ability to air up and down the car upon command. So for today's video, we're just gonna be going over some of the things I learned throughout the last year on owning one of these cars and having it on bags. So we can start off by just taking a look at the trunk setup. So I've only shown this in probably like 3 videos in total, but although it's not complete, it's definitely looking a lot better than it did a few months ago because I actually have a plan on how I wanna finish this. So for now, let's just pardon the rip surf, get that out of the way. When I first got the bags, I didn't really have a trunk setup in mind, so I kind of just mounted the compressors to the sides right here. The tank was just basically sitting on top of the sub, and the manifold is just sitting right there. What I'm planning on making for this setup specifically is I want to basically hide everything except for like the top portion of this tank. So at some point I'm gonna mount the manifold to the side right here next to the compressors. I'm gonna create a board just so I can keep this whole trunk well flush, and that way everything is covered. I can put stuff in the trunk again, and basically everything above here is not gonna be there. That way the trunk is basically hidden. I can open it up and show it off to people just so it's something neat to look at. I recently purchased this little air hose setup so I can fill up the tires if I need to. There's a little air gun in one of those bags down there. I have the compressors mounted sideways like this, along with the tank. Got the pressure relief valve on the right, water trap below on the left, and like I said, within the next few weeks, hopefully, I plan on just cleaning all this up, making sure nothing's up here and shown, and just make it as neat as possible. So if we take a look at the inside of the car, all the wiring goes basically from the back of the trunk where the fuel pump area is, underneath this whole little door jamb right here. Wiring is completely tucked away, and the remote is sitting on a mount right here. So this is something you can just order from Modify. I also have another one for my phone. This wire, it's a little bit difficult to find a way to route that without showing it, but at the same time, I do like to leave a top down occasionally while I'm out, and I'll just unplug the remote and place it in like the glove compartment back here. But other than that, you can't really see anything from any type of setup I have in here. So regarding my current setup, I'm running a square set of Enkei RPF 1s, 17x9 plus 45 on 245/40 Firestone Firehawk Indy 500s. This runs a very light amount of stretch, resulting in flush at ride height and slight tuck on all sides, as long as your fenders are rolled and or pulled properly, along with slight trimming and rear bumper tab relocation. My previous setup was a stance fitment running out on DSO1s in 18x9.5 plus 30 square setup, 215/40 Toyo Proxy Sports all-season tires, which resulted in a bit of poke at ride height, but basically a nearly perfect fender to lip up front and tuck in the rear while aired out. Now, the main reason I got rid of that setup was my long-term goal with the car is to run a street build, and the hot boy setup wouldn't get me there. An issue I ran with the stance setup, the fenders did get messed up. The driver's side has a weird line where the tires would rest, while the passenger side formed a lip. It sucks that the OEM ones are stuck like that now, but I'm planning on running a different fender setup anyways, so it doesn't matter too much. So my advice to you guys would be to just do your research on the wheels and tire setup you want to run well before you actually buy them. All right, so now let's answer the first question. Can you daily a Honda S2000? That depends on your situation and how you daily a car. So obviously the S2000 is a fun and was a relatively less expensive sports car. Having the ability to drive one of these on a daily basis is a dream to some people, including me. However, there are some obvious things to get out of the way. It's a small car. Comparing it to a Miata, I like to say the Miata is more of a physically smaller car, but the S2000 feels more compact in the cabin. You're squeezed and locked into the cockpit at all times. If you're claustrophobic, you have tons of luggage or people to carry, it's not the right car for you to daily. There's just not that much space. In the passenger side without the seat, I could barely fit a set of tires with the top up. And in the trunk, maybe 3 to 5 full backpacks. That is if you remove whatever's in the trunk well. And if you don't carry a lot of luggage, how far do you travel in a day? The S2000, according to Google, and I'd say it's roughly correct, gets about 18 miles per gallon in the city and 25 on the highway. Stock, that is. And if you're watching this video, chances are you aren't going to leave the car stock. I personally travel 50 miles a day. That's to and from work and to and from the gym, and up to 100 miles a day if I had to travel somewhere else. But that's also mainly because I just live in the middle of nowhere. Cities are about 20 minutes away in every direction. And gas right now, specifically right now, it's not cheap anymore. I used to pay about $36 for a full tank of gas back when the car was bone stock, and that was about 7 every 8 days, something like that. But now I'm up to 55 for a full tank of gas, and that's every 4 days with the driving that I've explained to you. And the car only takes premium gas, so don't expect to cut a few dollars. Another thing to mention is the S2000 engines eat oil so quickly. Oil changes are recommended every 3,000 miles. Occasionally I'll do them more because it's just constantly filling them up and then it's just spitting it right back out. The last thing to mention is the S2000 is a 20-year-old manual car, which will require regular maintenance to keep the car in top shape, and beating on it every day, which everyone is tempted to do that owns one of these, will cause ongoing problems. Oh yeah, and be wary of the snap oversteer in this car. Now, with all that being said, why would you want to get one then? First of all, the S2000 is a 20-year-old car that only comes in manual, like I just said. And if I remember correctly, the S2000 is known for having one of the best manual gearboxes. It has a relatively short throw, it's 6-speed, notchy. Perfect match for everything you really want in a manual. The car is small, like I've said as well, so you can fit in traffic and parking a lot easier. There's also a lot less overall surface area, so when you clean, power to weight ratio, the car is a timeless Honda masterpiece, right after the NSX in my opinion. It's sleek, smooth body lines everywhere. The interior is so driver focused. with most of the controls in reach with the lift of a finger. Having production ended in 2009, you rarely see these on the road. And when you do get some attention. It's a Honda, so the engine is a reliable tank and VTEC. It's a drop top, and who doesn't like convertibles? As a daily, you will run into problems faster than if it was a weekend or project car, but that's expected with any car really. Treat her right and this car will last a while. The only downside is the market for these have increased quite a bit, so finding one in good condition and relatively low miles for less than 25,000 will take some time, but it's possible. This car is an experience of its own, and there really isn't much like it. And the sad part is, we may not get anything like it again from Honda. There is a glimmer of hope with Honda's recent teaser, and although it's most likely a hybrid, possibly a fully electric, there's a chance this car will make a comeback within the next year. Alright, so now for the bigger question that everybody's been waiting for. Can you daily a bagged Honda S2000? It depends, once again, on the whole reason you want to go with bags. Just like you would with any car, whether it's for reliability, showcase, just for fun. There are a lot of valid reasons to go bagged. Just remember, bags are pretty expensive if you run them right. I personally installed them on my car myself, and it took about 3 work days with zero experience, but some knowledge on wiring and then reading the manuals. I was able to create a setup that has given me almost no issues to this day, over a year later. If you aren't confident, just take it to a shop and have it professionally installed, because you need to understand how to set up everything, like a water trap, pressure release valve, straight airline cuts, properly using Teflon tape, other minor things. I personally haven't taken this car on this setup to the track yet, so I can't tell you how they perform in that situation, but I can take turns relatively well. And with the 3S setup, with adjustable dampening, ride quality is most likely not what most people assume. Every time I take someone for a ride, they're impressed by how smooth the drive is, mainly because I have proper dampening adjustments. Alright, so now let's get into some of the issues I've run into, because like I mentioned, I have run into some minor issues. First, sometimes the remote wouldn't connect to the ECU upon startup. This happens most likely because I have it linked to the radio as my remote turn on power rather than to an actual fuse like that. And the only reason I have it linked to that is because it was convenient, since I used to run a subwoofer. That wire is already back there. The second issue I've run into sometimes, which hasn't happened in a while, when I go to a lower preset, the bags will air out further than what I set it to, and then it'll race back up. Luckily, most of the time when that's happened, it was while I'm in park. However, I've had it happen a few times where I'm driving, and then obviously it does damage the tires because you're airing out, and then it'll scrape the fenders on the inside. I've never ran into like an air leak, a bag popping, bad driving experiences, and ride quality, or really any of the other horrific stories you've heard about bags. From my personal experience, as long as you do your research, create a proper and organized setup, have a bit of patience, along with general maintenance such as draining your water trap, which I'm sure some of you watching this video out of interest haven't drained your water trap in the past week, so I'd highly recommend you go and do that right now. But if you got all those things, then going on bags, in my opinion, and from experience, is definitely worth it. For my situation, most likely for yours as well. And obviously money. You have to have a bit of money to drop on these, because I spent $3,500 with a discount, which would have run me $4,000 total without it. So don't cut short on this. You want to be in the right direction when you start, and if you want to extend the lifetime being on air, then doing it the right way the first time is how you should do it. Alright, so to answer your question, can you daily a bagged Honda S2000? Yes, as long as you do your research, run a proper fitment and trunk setup, have time, patience, and money, you can fully trust going bagged is the right decision depending on your situation. If there's any questions or information I didn't answer or you'd like to ask, comment down below, or feel free to send me a message on Instagram. Links in the description and tag is on the screen. Thank you all for watching this video. I'd love to see and hear about your builds as well. New content coming soon. Don't forget to drop a like on this video if you enjoyed. Stay tuned for more and enjoy yourselves. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.